The frame rates in your games are way too low, but that's not my problem. Today we're going to be talking about overclocking your graphics card, why you would want to do it, what risks there are, and how to do it. So let's get started. Okay, so overclocking. Basically what it is increasing the clock speed on a processor to where it runs faster. You're increasing the frequency that it can do things, therefore it is doing things faster. So why you would want to do this is to do things faster. To be able to get higher frame rates in your games. If it's a graphics card, if it's a processor, get faster render times in, say, a video editor or something like that, or just faster load times into games, because that's very CPU driven. Today we're going to be talking mainly about graphics cards and how to do that. Overclocking your graphics card, you're going to need some software to do that, some software to interface with the card and change its internal settings. So some great options are MSI Afterburner is the one that I would really recommend. EVGA Precision X OC is another good one. That's the one that we'll be using today since we are using an EVGA card, although I will have links to both of them in the description, and I will also link the EVGA overclock scanner, which is a stress test utility used to confirm that your overclock is good. So you're going to stress test it to make sure that your overclock isn't too high for the card, and that stress test will either fail if it's too high or just run forever if it's not too high. Some of the risks associated with overclocking is you can shorten the life of the card, especially if you do overvolting. Today we're not going to be doing any overvolting though. I will be covering that in a future video on advanced overclocking and how to just push those couple extra megahertz out of your card. But for now we're just going to be doing some basic overclocking, and really there is minimal risk associated with it. However, there is always a risk with overclocking that you could potentially shorten the life of your card, especially if you go way too high. So we're just going to keep things pretty darn conservative in this video and not incur any major risks. The graphics card that we will be overclocking today is an EVGA GTX 1060 6GB edition, the little shorty card. So let's get right into doing some overclocking. First we're going to need some software to do the overclocking. I would suggest using MSI Afterburner, but since we're going to be overclocking an EVGA card, I'm going to be using EVGA Precision X OC. So we're going to go ahead and open this up real quick. Okay, once inside you should see some settings. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to link the power target and the temperature target, and then we're going to go ahead and crank those all the way up to their maximums just to tell the card that it can go as far as it wants to, because when we're overclocking we're going to make sure that the thermals are okay whenever we test it, so we don't want the card to be worrying about its temperature or anything. So now we're just going to go ahead and test and make sure that our temp target and our power target can be run that high just by running a benchmark for about 5 minutes, and the stress test we're going to be doing is going to be Furmark using the EVGA overclock scanner.
A few moments later.
Now we're going to go back into Precision X and we're going to start adjusting the clocks on the cards. So the first thing we're going to adjust is the memory clock. On this card I know that I can reach 250, but you'll want to work your way up in increments of 50, and then once you reach crashing you're going to want to work your way down in increments of 25 and so on until you reach that sweet spot. We're going to go ahead and clock in 20 megahertz overclock on the core, and we're going to stress test it for 5 minutes.
A few moments later.
Now that we've done 5 minutes of that, we're going to work our way up in increments of 25 until we get crashing on the stress test, and then we're going to work our way down in increments of 5 just to dial in the topmost overclock that we can get. I'm going to go ahead and stop at 100 megahertz just because it's a nice even number and it makes my OCD happy. But you might be able to get a lot higher or lower than I can get. It just kind of depends on the individual cards themselves and how far they will go. And always make sure to check your overclock using a stress test for at least 5 minutes. A lot of people recommend even up to an hour of stress testing, but I work my way up with increments of 5 minutes on my stress testing, and then after I dial it in, I'll go play some games to give it some real stress and workload, and then I will adjust it based off of if the game crashes or my computer crashes while I'm playing the game, and adjust the overclock in there. Now all there's left to do is to enjoy the sweet, sweet frame rates that you're going to get with your overclocked graphics card. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on it. If you enjoy the content on this channel, go ahead and subscribe so you can enjoy more of it. If you have suggestions for future content on this channel, go ahead and leave those down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.